On the subject of fact checks and these ABC debate moderators, because we're still on that as well, the Seattle Times weighs in with this fact check of Trump. Trump was out there the other night. Do we have what he said teed up, or I'll just tell the audience what he said? Okay. He said, quote, we have it? Stand by. Okay, let's watch it. South 4.
When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. The Seattle Times wanted to fact check that because Trump, I guess, according to them, is egregiously wrong. Here's their fact check. The zone's size fluctuated, but it essentially occupied about six city blocks. They're mad that he said a big percentage when it was 6 city blocks, which is a lot. But in the mind of the Seattle Times, they needed to fact check erroneous Trump again because he said large percentage. Never mind the people who were killed, who were robbed, who were beaten, the lawlessness. Once again, right? A complete not seeing the forest for the trees here. It's all about, is 6 city blocks a big percentage? Is it fair to say that cats are being eaten when really it might just be geese and ducks and the city manager says it's not totally verifiable? This is the gaslighting that we're being put through, Steve.
Correct. It's 100% gaslighting. And you saw that when Kamala repeated the lie about Charlottesville, and even Snopes and PolitiFact, who are basically captured institutions themselves, even they couldn't hold that back any longer and declared those things to be lies. And there was no fact check about that whatsoever. Not
Daniel Dale over at CNN. He said she only lied one time, and we believe that was about fracking in his view. We'll get to fracking. But no, he didn't see any of those as lies.
I think, first of all, we should congratulate David Moore. It was a splendid audition to be a potential press secretary for President Kamala. I mean, he nailed that, stuck the landing. Okay, so congrats on his potential future employment that hopefully will deny him on November the 5th. But this just goes to show, I've used a term a few times here with your audience, social compact. I think we should unpack that a little bit. And basically, social compact, all human relationships have forms of social compact, and it's that which intrinsically binds us together. And then we will itemize it, we'll quantify it in a marriage ceremony, in a constitution, in a Declaration of Independence, in a city charter, in a corporate charter, in a corporate bylaw. And those are the things that intrinsically bind us before we quantify them, that this is how we are going to be in agreement in relationship, in business, and in marriage, or in communion or community with one another. And what you're seeing right now on the American left is they've already shredded the Constitution. And they are now taking the last thing that creates e pluribus unum in this culture, and that's the social compact. And they are violating it, the terms of the agreement. These are the kinds of things, if you've ever been a child of a divorce or watched a family member go through a divorce, when the relationship deteriorates to the point now that you will say the things out loud to each other that when you wanted the relationship to continue, you would never dare say. That's where we are now. When you will act against the other party in ways when you wanted the relationship and the arrangement to continue, you would have never dared done. Those are the things that you end up doing when you want it to end. Those are the things the American left is now doing to us.
So well said. The frustration of the number of misleading statements that were made during the debate, that have been made since the debate as the gaslighting continues, is rising. It rises day to day. CNN, I'm having whiplash because they've got Andrew Kaczynski of the K-File, who did go pull, to his credit, the ACLU questionnaire that she filled out. And it's just absolutely devastating what's in there. I talked earlier about the transgender surgeries for prisoners, for illegals on the taxpayer dime that she supports, the open borders and the defunding ICE, and allowing the entire country to become a sanctuary country where we don't cooperate
I hate
with
to
ICE
interrupt.
and enforcing
Can I
its
ask
detainers.
you a question about that, Megyn, for just a second? Do you mind? I want to ask you something. Because you've been where I have not been, most people in our industry, particularly on the right, have not been, and most people in your audience have not been. You have been at the upper echelons of corporate media. And we were completely mystified on my show this week that Dana Burnett on CNN, normally when they do what Rush used to call Aaron Burnett, I'm sorry, that when they do what Rush used to call accidental journalism, it's what you saw when they tried to get rid of Biden. They knew he couldn't win. And so it was to further their narrative. And that's why they were doing journalism, was for their narrative. But on our show, we were mystified when Aaron Burnett decided to tell CNN's audience that Kamala is really a communist and unearthed these kinds of things. We could not figure out for the life of us why they chose to do this. So I would like to know what you think. You've been there.
Well, so here's what's so interesting. So CNN has been trying to be more middle of the road to win back some of their centrist and right-leaning viewers since they left entirely during the Trump years under Jeff Zucker. And there's still honest reporters at CNN, and sometimes you see them. You know, I believe that Harry Enton is somebody who is trustworthy. There's a guy, his name escapes me right now, who does legal analysis, who I think is pretty down the middle. He's not bad. You've got this Kaczynski who does reports, Ellie Honig, that's who it is. You've got this guy Kaczynski who does these, larger exposés and has proven that even if it's a Democrat, he'll expose them. But then you've got the talent, right, in the anchor desk positions, none of whom is open-minded to the right. I mean, truly, like the people who control and are in the anchor positions at CNN are not open-minded to Trump in any way, shape, or form. So Kaczynski's done this big report, and they've got to air it somewhere. So Aaron Burnett has him on. Okay, fine. What did you find? But she has no idea how far left Kamala Harris is. To her, this is downright shocking. To all of us, we're like, yes, we understand she's an insane left-wing loon. But here's what happened when he went on her show.
She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants.
She
actually said she supported that.
She wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. Oh. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners.
She doesn't believe it. Just like Keith Olbermann didn't believe it, the New Yorker Susan Glazer didn't believe it, Time Magazine didn't believe it. They just live in their own bubble, Steve.
There's an old joke about the morning after the 1972 election when Richard Nixon mopped the floor with George McGovern, and a reporter for the New York Times gets into an elevator and they're just stunned at the results of that election, which were almost a mirror of the blowout LBJ had over Goldwater just about a decade earlier. And the New York Times reporter is said to have remarked, I don't know anybody that voted for Nixon. And one of the last corporate media appearances I did before the media went from biased but usually credible on facts to just openly narrative casting and malfeasance as we see today is NPR. Their news hour brought me on the day after the 2016 election. All right, and can someone explain to us from the right what we missed here, how we all got it wrong? And I asked, Judy Woodruff was hosting the show, and I asked Judy, how many people live on the air, how many people in your newsroom? You guys talk about diversity, and I come out of the newspaper business, and I heard it at the newspaper I worked at all my career. Diversity, 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 as if it's a mantra. Okay, but what about ideological diversity? How many people in your newsroom go to church at least once a month? How many people in your newsroom are even moderately pro-life? How many people in your newsroom have ever voted for a Republican not named Mitt Romney or John McCain? And it got really quiet and really silent on the other end of that discussion. And Megyn, that's the last time that the NewsHour on PBS ever invited me on.
Oh, no. Oh, that's unfortunate. No, you're exactly right. I've told the audience this before, but I was invited to go out west and speak with all these, all the tech companies that you know. And I spoke with many of them. And one of the things that they were looking at was, how do we win back right wingers? How do we become more fair when it comes to the way we cover the news? And I said, get some Republicans in here, actually employ them, put them on your corporate board, include them in the discussion. Yeah, that didn't happen. On the fact checking. So here's CNN. You saw Aaron Burnett. That was a great point that you raised. She was stunned. She couldn't believe her own reporters reporting. Not for nothing, but this guy Kaczynski, this poor guy has been through a lot. His baby daughter died a couple of years ago, and he talked about it wrote about it on Twitter, and it was absolutely heart-wrenching. And if you have a heart at all, you watch this and you thought, oh my God, the humanity, and you prayed for him and his family. And I saw he was attacked. He's getting actually attacked by a lot on the left over this report. You know, the tolerant left. And I'll just give you one of the comments. At least your dead daughter will never know what a terrible person you are. Oh. Because of this report. I'm so sick of being lectured to by these people about how they're the tolerant ones and people who are more right-leaning are racists and intolerant and hateful, right? This is such an absurd... I'm worried about those people in Springfield. I'm worried about the families and the mothers down at the southern border whose 12-year-olds are being raped and murdered. And I do have empathy for Andrew Kaczynski, even though he's probably on the other side politically than I am. I don't know. And he works at CNN. I don't care. I care for him. And I'm sure he's done a lot of reports I wouldn't like. I don't give it. What kind of a person? Anyway, it's so aggravating. So on the topic of CNN, let me just take it here. Abby Phillip, who is one of their anchors, right? So now we're back to, she's biased. She's really biased. She watched that debate on Tuesday night, and this is what she tweeted out about the fact-checking. Just FYI, when there is asymmetrical lying, there will be asymmetrical fact-checking. Okay, that's her. She has no idea. And then here she is today, last night, I think this was, seemingly unaware of the fact that when Kamala Harris allegedly reversed herself on fracking at the 2020 vice presidential debate, she did not actually reverse herself at all. She only spoke of Joe Biden's position if he were to become president. Look how clueless this woman is.
She, in 2019, when she was running, she said, I'm done with, fracking. We're going to do away with it. You can't say you're going to do away with it. They had her dead to right on that. What you can say as a candidate that I'm not in 2019, I'm not in 2020, and you know what? I changed my mind.
Well, I guess the reality of it is that she reversed herself in 2020. Like that.
That's not true. No, she
didn't.
But you know what?
That's not accurate at all.
But you know what?
But it's a weak argument.
No, it's not. It's a lie. Is what it is.
Look at that. She had no idea.
She doesn't have to, Megyn. She doesn't have to. There's no accountability. No one systemically gets held accountable for almost anything. I mean, Julie Swetnick still out roaming the streets claiming Brett Kavanaugh's a marauding rapist. Okay, no one is ever held. No one's ever held accountable for anything. And when you create an enclave of people where it's just the two of you just sitting around and smelling each other's flatulence and saying, "Boy, that smells like rose water. That's the best I've ever. That's the best I've ever torn one off." And no one questions that kind of reeks, guys. No one interrupts. No one interjects. No one calls BS. No one gets held accountable.
As a kid, you loved eating cereal, right? But as an adult, you don't want all that sugar. And most cereals do not have the protein you need. But then there's Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like your childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And now Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high-protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious, and they can serve as a before or after gym snack. Magic Spoon's treats are an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/MK or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. Magicspoon.com/MK for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.